The talking points memo is about Mr. Trump and the Constitution. I'm going to go over this very methodically. If you have a pen and paper, you might write some of this stuff down, because I am sick and tired of the nonsense that's going on in this country, the absolute fraud in presenting the facts of the Constitution as it pertains to we the people. All right, here we go. So the President of the United States has the power to combat insurrection and to protect Americans from harm. In fact, that's his primary duty. The president's primary duty is not to bring down food prices or to have global warming funds. It's to protect Americans from immediate danger. Okay? Number one. The definition of insurrection is an act of revolting against civil authority or established government. That's an insurrection. If you're revolting, if you're burning down federal buildings, if you're trying to kill ICE agents, that's an insurrection. Okay. There is an act, the Insurrection Act, passed by Congress, signed by the President, 10 U.S.C. 251255. Quote, whenever the President considers the unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call in federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or suppress the rebellion. To enforce those laws is the key here, okay? So these judges who are blocking Donald Trump from sending guard to Portland, Oregon, to L.A., to Chicago, they are operating outside the Constitution, these federal judges. They don't care about the Constitution. They're ruling in a political way. Right? There's the proof. If you don't want to see it, people believe what they want to believe. Okay, my job is to tell you what the truth is. So let's go to Oregon. Oregon, for the past 5 months, has been under siege by anarchists in Portland, the largest city. They're trying to destroy ICE headquarters. They are threatening ICE agents. And this has been going on almost every day. And you're telling me that the president doesn't have the power to protect federal property and his agents? Come on, that's ridiculous. All right, and that is why the appeals court in San Francisco ruled yesterday that the president can send in a guard. Now, the radicals who don't want any of that are saying, well, we want another hearing, and they'll get it, and that's fine. That's fine. Let's right up to the Supreme Court. That's where I want it to go. Write it down. Okay. So Portland is a slam dunk. How about Chicago? Well, it is obvious that the local authorities, the police in Chicago, aren't going to protect ICE agents or federal property. That is obvious. I can prove it, and I have gone over this before, but it's worth mentioning again. So you will remember that on October 4th of this, end of October now, there was a big confrontation in Chicago between radicals and ICE agents. There was a woman with a gun in her car who tried to ram ICE agents. That could kill them, of course. The ICE agent shot the woman, all right? She went to the hospital, she's all right, and then was released by a judge despite the federal government asking that this woman be detained until her trial hearing. No, let her out, okay? Her name is Miramar Martinez. She's pled not guilty, but she's guilty as hell. Okay, everybody knows she's guilty, including Miramar. Judge goes, no, even though the federal government, even though you try to kill ICE agents with your car, I'm letting you out. No, no, that's supporting an insurrection. All right. So just that alone. But then we have a recording, because when all this happened, the Chicago police were informed. Somebody called 911, and units were on their way to see what was happening regarding the ICE agents and the demonstrators. And this is what the police units were told when they were driving toward the scene of the crime. Go.
And again, per the Chief of Patrol, we have all the units that for 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
So the local Chicago authorities will not protect federal ICE agents, period. There's no other side to the story. And that order was given by the Chief of Patrol of Chicago, John Hine. If you're a president, you have to send in those authorities. You have to do it. You can't allow this kind of anarchy and danger. So this will happen in Chicago, the Guard. Guard will happen in Portland. Now, the Guard is a unit that cannot arrest you because that's the Posse Comitatus Act, but it can detain, hold you until the local authorities come. Now, if the local authorities want to arrest you, the U.S. Marshals will, because the Marshals are going to accompany the Guard into Chicago and Portland, because you can't trust the local authorities in Portland or in Chicago. Can't trust them. They're not going to enforce federal law. That goes back to the Constitution. That's why the Founding Fathers put it in there, because they knew there may be rogue states, and there are now. There's no question about that. So President Trump is going to win all of these cases, and the Supreme Court is never, the three leftist Supreme Court justices, they don't care, but the other six are going to support the president. And I'll just give you one more. In 2013, the New Orleans Police Department, the entire police department was taken over by the federal government. The entire police department, okay? And that was under Barack Obama. Obama ordered that. Why? Because the citizens living in New Orleans were not being protected by the police from violent crime. The cops weren't protecting the people. They just weren't doing it. That order is still in play for you people living down in New Orleans. 12 years later, it's still there. And there are federal overseers of the New Orleans Police Department. Barack Obama. And that's the memo. One more thing before I get to the guest. It is true that the National Guard, as we saw in D.C., will be a restraining force against criminals. But the criminals are not going to come out to Pioneer Square in Portland, Oregon, if the Guard's standing there. The dope dealers aren't going to come out. The gangs on the south side of Chicago aren't coming out armed to the teeth if the Guard is there. So yes, that is an unintended good consequence of these orders, and President Trump knows it. So we want to be fair and honest here. And joining us now from New York City is Rebecca Rose Woodland. She is a powerhouse attorney in New York and knows the Constitution very well. We're pleased to have her back. All right, am I making any mistakes here, Counselor?
You are absolutely not making any mistakes. You're almost understating the fact that the president, under the Insurrection Act, has the right to determine, and I'm going to state, determine and define what insurrection, rebellion, and domestic violence is. He is the deciding factor. No one else.
Okay.
Not the courts, not
so
the
you
state
and I,
authority. If
you
the
and I
president
agree. All right. You and I agree, and so does most of the people watching all around the world today. We agree that the president has the authority, but judge after judge after judge after judge after judge tried to block presidential authority in this matter. Why do you think that is?
So this is all political. I mean, these people are standing on weak political grounds. These are Democrats that want to oppose the president any way they can. Legal, unlegal, lawful, unlawful. This is unlawful. They're just clogging the courts with useless cases. Taxpayer money is being spent. The Department of Justice is having to spend time opposing these motions when the Department of Justice and Attorney General Bondi, Kash Patel from the FBI, should be working on other issues that are facing this country. The incredible drug trade coming in that they're trying to prevent and halt. But no, they're wasting time. The president has the absolute authority. The Supreme Court said in the 1800s, the president had the authority and the right to define what insurrection is. And if the president sees an insurrection, he can go in with the guard to quell it and to organize it for then the troops and the other, criminal law enforcement authorities to come in and then, as you said, effectuate arrests.
Okay.
This has been since the 1800s. This is nothing new.
But just for as a historical aside, that was done. All of those things were done because after the Civil War and the Union's victory, a lot of people in the South weren't going to obey. They were just going to persecute the blacks and keep them down and hurt them and hang them. And so the federal government had to intervene, and then U.S. Grant had to go in and destroy the Klan, not with militia, not with National Guard, with troops. But then we see all throughout history, in the 50s with Eisenhower, in the 60s with Kennedy. So there is no doubt about the fact that the president of the United States, it could be anybody, Barack Obama took over the New Orleans Police Department, has the power to do this. But it's morphed, and I want to get your personal opinion on this. You and me are correct, and the Supreme Court is going to rule in President Trump's favor. And the quicker it gets there, the better to put this all to bed. But this is now morphed into the king thing, that he's authoritarian, that he's a fascist, that he's illegally using troops to come in to L.A., to Portland, to Chicago, on and on. And it has taken deep root in the minds of some Americans. They don't understand what the Constitution is, and I'm not faulting them. They're not taught it in school. Constitution, nobody's teaching it anymore. They don't know what's in it. They don't know what the Rebellion Act is. They don't know what the Insurrection Act is. They don't know anything, all right? They hear. But the media has picked up this theme, authoritarian, Nazi, this, that, and they push it every single day. And then when they lose, Rose, which they will, media is going to ignore that and go on to the next accusation. And do you have anything to add to that soliloquy? Because I'm
in New York. On Saturday, I saw all of these protesters, and I tried to ask some of them, what was the king aspect in their opinion, in their terms? And they just kept reiterating the rhetoric without understanding any of the background. No,
they don't know.
They didn't know at all. And I look, Bill, I agree with you. I think that this is an organized effort to just discredit the president without any factual basis.
And so it's working to some extent. When you get 7 million people out there thinking that he's a king, that organization that they have put together with a lot of Soros money, they're making some inroads. Rose, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Look, my job here is to tell you, the viewer and listener, what the facts are. And if you have any beef with my analysis or the counselor's analysis, bill@BillO'Reilly.com, bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Just put your name in town so we know you're not organized. We don't want one of these people, we don't want that. We want regular people writing in. But I am open to suggestion, but man, I studied this thing. All right, from every way. And what I am telling you is absolutely true.